Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Hey guys, welcome to ConvoCourses. My name is Bruce, and I'm going to be answering a couple questions about risk management framework, cybersecurity type stuff, information technology, anything I can answer. And I'm starting off with some questions that I received on my channel here from Jackie O, who says, Are you able to share a complete example? Would like to know what an acceptable deliverable SSP looks like. You mentioned you'd share a copy in the section below. So in order, I think maybe I might have mistakenly not put the link in there, but if you go to ConvoCourses, I have a breakdown of how to put together an acceptable package. What are all the steps that go into creating a system security plan for the NIST? But what I can do for you, Jackie, and for anybody else who's wanting to see what a system security plan looks like, I can give you an example. So the thing is, an acceptable deliverable for an SSP. That's what you want to know. Would like to know what an acceptable deliverable for SSP looks like. Okay, let's put this in context. What I want to do is, first of all, I want to show you what, for those of you who might not know, you might need some framework here, some context to know exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about a system security plan. A system security plan is a comprehensive document that explains the security posture of an organization. So an organization says, hey, yeah, we're secure. We protect these satellites. We protect all the data that's being processed and disseminated and stored. It's tracking all the troop movements and all this stuff, and it's secure, So the thing about the federal government is that they don't take your word for it. You have to show evidence that it is secure and how it's secure. And so the risk management, the NIST 853 breaks down all the security controls that you should see to show that you have a certain level of assurance on your data. That means a certain level of confidence that you are protecting the data, right? So in order to show that, what you present is a authorization package. An authorization package consists of a system security plan, a plan of action and milestone. It can also include a assessment report, and then artifacts. Artifacts is like evidence that you have done your scans, the evidence that you have backups that are in place. And it basically covers all the security controls. Now, an acceptable deliverable for a system security plan, it really depends on the eye of the beholder. And what I mean by that is that every organization is going to have a different definition of what they deem as acceptable. For some organizations, to prove that you have a proper backup in place, it might be acceptable just to have a screenshot of your most current full backup of your systems. For another organization, it might be that they want to see the configuration of your backups, that they want to see that you have an incremental backup, and they want to see the configurations of your backup system. For some organizations, it might be good enough to just have a policy that you back up the systems every so often. The policy states that the frequency is we do it every Wednesday in May of every year, or whatever it is, whatever it is. So every organization is going to be the determining factor. They're the ones who say, yes, this is good. I like this. This is acceptable, an acceptable evidence. So, or an acceptable artifact. So, to answer your question, it depends on the organization. What is acceptable as evidence? And for you as an information system security officer, as a cybersecurity expert, as a cybersecurity consultant, as a cybersecurity person, It's your job to figure out what the expectations of the organization is. So that's what you have to do. I know that in my line of work, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, I would present something that I thought was what the organization wanted to see. I would present something that in my interpretation from my previous jobs, I'd say, well, at my previous job, it was good enough just to have a screenshot. So I'll just take the screenshot and we'll upload that. Or actually, I'll give you a real world example. Previous job, company A, it was fine just to show the policy, actually. The policy of, say, the backups. If you had the policy there and we would upload it, or even maybe have a link to the document that talks about the frequency of the backups for the system, that was fine. They were okay with that. Assessors came, they looked at it and said, yep, here's the document right here. Your policy says that you guys have this backup plan and procedure. You have it. There you go. And then they blessed it, and then that was it. And then I go to another job, right? I go to company B, and and I upload thinking to myself, well, yeah, okay, it was good with the other company, and this other organization is a way higher, like they have way more important stuff. So hey, I'm gonna do the same thing. I put out the documentation, and I put the artifact, upload that into say EMAS or whatever it was at the time. It wasn't EMAS, but whatever it was. And said, okay, here's the artifact, here it is, here's evidence that our organization is doing the backups. And they saw the policy and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, it's the policy. No, we need evidence. This isn't evidence. This is saying that you did it. This procedure says that you guys have conducted the backups, but this isn't what we want. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what do you want? Like, what kind of evidence? Very respectfully, of course. I said, well, what kind of evidence? Could you give me examples of what kind of evidence we could bring to the table to show you that we are doing this? And they said, well, maybe a screenshot. Give me a screenshot of the IBM backup.exe system. Give me that. So that's what we did. The moral of the story is you have to figure out what the organization wants. Now, let me give you some further context. If you're confused about this whole thing that I'm talking about, artifacts and all this kind of this and that, let me show you what we're talking about here. I'm going to show you my screen here. What we're talking about is a system security plan. Now, the system security plan, it looks different for every organization. All right. There's a bit of leeway that the risk management framework NIST 800 series gives you. Okay, so some organizations are still on this. What you see here on the screen here is just a Word document. This is what I'm at right here is, if you want to follow along, this is ConvoCourses.com. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to find wherever the downloadable is, I'm going to make the downloadable free. So if you go on to ConvoCourses, logging in is free. You'll see this as a free download. If you're looking for NIST, ISO NIST 800 foundations, you'll see it is free. The downloadables this downloadable will be free if I can find it. Okay, so anyway, the system security plan looks different at each organization. So what you're seeing here on the screen is a Word document version of a system security plan. And let me see, where am I at here? Yeah, okay. So this is a video that I've done about this particular. Okay, here we go. Let me just kind of show you a couple things here. So yeah, this right here is what's going to be in that system security plan. Pretty cumbersome because you're essentially documenting, you're supposed to document anyway, every single system security control. And so if you're doing this in a Word document, it just gets very, very, you're going to have a phone book worth of data. And it just gets extremely hard to manage because things also change on a regular basis. And that's why some people use something like this, Exacta. Exacta is one example out of many of a database, a searchable database that can hold all the system security controls. So there's Exacta, there's EMAS, there's and sometimes they'll have like a homegrown one where it's just basically Oracle database or SQL database that they put together, and they just made it a searchable database. It's much easier to deal with if you have some kind of a database or a relational database, like in Exacta. What other, Archer, I think, does it. RSA, Archer. What other? There's so many other ones out there, but this is just one example. And basically, you would put your system security plan and document all the controls in this database rather than doing it on a Word document. Another place that people do it, I've seen done, is on a spreadsheet. It's so ridiculously hard to manage a spreadsheet with this much data on it. Let me see if I can find an example of a spreadsheet. Example of a spread. Yeah, here's one right here. This is what we're looking at here on the screen is a spreadsheet that's been a Excel spreadsheet that's been made into a system security plan. It's just, it starts off good. It's very easy to understand it, and you fill it out, and it's like a template and stuff like that. But what happens again is that you have so many security controls, and those security controls change from time to time. You got to manage those security controls. And on a spreadsheet, sometimes it can be, first of all, it's very limited. You can't upload files on a spreadsheet. You can't do very comprehensive searches on a spreadsheet. You can do some cool stuff with a spreadsheet, but it just has some severe limits. So you can do it on whatever the organization determines. How they determine how they're going to document all of the security features of the system security, the systems that are managing, that are disseminating, that are processing, that are storing that important data. You have to document all that stuff. So the organization says, okay, everybody will use this Word document. Here's the template. It's got our letterhead on it. It's got our symbol of our company and all that kinds of logo and all that kind of stuff on it, right? Or they can say, nope, we're going to use spreadsheets. That's what we've been using. It's just easier for us. And here's the tabs on the spreadsheet. Or they can use some kind of a relational database that allows everyone to access it. It's online, and maybe have different role-based people who can log in and see different things and manipulate different things, and everybody's collaborating on, say, Archer or Exacta or whatever. So that is what a system security plan might look like, and it's coming from this document right here, which is an 818, NIST 818, developing plans for federal systems. And if you look at this right here, this document right here shows you what a system security plan should have on it. And so here that part right here. It says a sample information system security plan template. All right. And yeah, it's going to have a categorization of the system, the name of the system, and the roles and responsibility. And at some point, it goes deep dives into all the system security controls themselves. And that's where it just gets super deep, and just so much data is being dumped in that spreadsheet or in that document that you have. And that's why a relational database is really a better way to go about it. So here's that document that I told you I would make downloadable. I'll have to come back to this right now because we're on this live. I could probably do this in the background while I'm talking here, but I just wanted to show you a couple more things. Here's another downloadable. It's just a template that's in a Word document. And so that's pretty much it. As far as giving examples, a specific example of an artifact that might be in a system security plan that might be acceptable. Again, it really depends on the organization of what is acceptable. But let me see if I can find anything. I might have something. What I'm doing is I'm on my actual training right here to see if I have given out any specific example. I believe I have. I'm just trying to find it. Tailor controls, documenting controls, approval. Yeah, so here, let me see if I can. All right, maybe this is one that I could show you. So what I'm doing right now is downloading the stakeholders list. This is something that goes in the system security plan. And it's just a template that I don't think I filled this one out. I think I just gave a template just in case somebody wanted to use it for their own organization. This is one of the things that I have in ConvoCourses if you're taking the Risk Management Framework ISO course. Okay, so here's an example of an artifact you might see in a system security plan. And all it is a list of the people the stakeholders, the people who are responsible in some way on a specific system. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. And I'll show you another one in a second here. So yeah, there you go. It's just got the title of the person, the name, the email, contact information right there. That might be something that you would put into a system security plan. Let me see if I can find another one. And there's other things too. There's like if your organization does scans, you might prove that, hey, we're good. We don't have any vulnerabilities. What you might do is put the results of a Nessus scan. Like if your organization is doing scans, you might do that. Let me see if I can pull this one up. Yeah, okay, here's another example. Here's something I've seen on many different ways that are on in some way, shape, or form on a system security plan. And this one is a hardware software list. And this is going to list the host names, the IPs. Of course, I made all this up. Now this is real. But you would have location, OS, version, the serial numbers, the MAC addresses, and all of these things. Of course, it's not going to be 3 items, right? If you could have thousands of items on this list. But I'm just giving you an example of what might be acceptable as a artifact. It's just basically it's evidence that you have completed a certain task and you meet a certain security control. That's all it is. And then here's the software list, and it's of course going to be way more comprehensive than this. Especially software lists are crazy huge, like ridiculously so huge that nobody's gonna really read it. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it's gonna have vendor, it's gonna have software, it's gonna have version, things like that. Maybe you might have where it's loaded up, what systems are have this software, things like that. So those are a few examples. So I hope that helps. I'm gonna move on to another topic of discussion here. While in the background, I'll try to change and make this portion, some of those downloadables, try to make those free. All right. I had another question. Do you do phone consultations? On very, very rare occasions, I'll do phone consultations to people who've been following me for a really long time. People who have bought the course, and we just been talking for a long time, and so I'll sometimes do a consultation with them, but that's normally for like resumes and stuff, like helping people get jobs and things like that. As far as consultations, like for your organization, we'll have to talk. You need to contact me directly, and that's a whole different. I have done it before. My time is very limited, so I can't always do it. You know what I mean? But I might know somebody who can, though. I know several cybersecurity experts who do the same thing I do, and if I can't do it, I can try to pass the work along to them, and they might be able to do that for a fee, of course. So yeah, contact me. What I'll do is I will have my contact information below, and if you contact me, I can forward you to the right people. Let me see if I can find my contact information I could give you if you're trying to look for a consultation for your organization. I might be able to help in that department. Let me see here. Where could it be? I'll give you guys that. If I can actually log in, maybe I'll just go ahead and type my information in there. Let's see. We'll just say, if you contact me here, I'll just put it here. It's cyberaware2020, all one word, at gmail.com. If you contact me here, and if you have consultation for your organization, maybe that's something I should put up here on my site. It's just something I don't advertise. Every now and then somebody will reach out to me, and I just so happen to be in a place where I can actually help them. I have a free time to actually call. They'll call me. I'll go through all of any kind of security questions that they want, or go through a JPass or whatever they need me to do, and then I'll get into their system and then help them out. But I do work full time, so I can't always do it. So I can pass it off to some other people, some other professionals that I know who maybe they have the time to make a little cash on the side or whatever. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let me see. I got a question here. Professor Black Ops says, cybersecurity for the people that I have you every use of the GRC system to build an SSP. I have you every use of GRC system to build an SSP. Yeah, so the GRC systems that I'm familiar with have been like homegrown. And then there's Archer. That one I'm pretty familiar with. My personally familiar with. And on those systems, you can build out an entire authentication package on there. Not just the system security plan, just to kind of piggyback on what Professor Black Ops is saying. You can build not only the system security plan with all the evidence, if it's on a database, a relational database, with the backup storage and all that kind of stuff, cloud-based storage or whatever, secure cloud-based storage. But you could also put the scans, like it could track all the scans throughout the network. It can track all the hardware, software that's on the network and on the systems. It could track any kind of documentation and policies, procedures that you have. GRC systems, it means governance, risk, and compliance. Am I right? Am I right with that, Professor Black Ops? Governance, risk, and compliance. I believe that's what GRC stands for. And that's what they track. They can track vulnerabilities. They can track governance throughout your organization, IP addresses, what systems you have, what software you have, just all kinds of stuff. Let me see. Oh, have you ever used any GRC systems to build an SSP? Yeah, absolutely. There was one called EIDTR that I used way back in the day on the Air Force systems. It's gone now. They don't use that anymore. I think they replaced it with EMAS or something like that. The EMAS, I've never actually had hands-on with EMAS. I'm very familiar with what it does because I've had to work with it on several occasions where I'm uploading data to it. But I personally don't have I've never configured a EMAS system or anything, but have put data on them. Archer is a GRC system with system security plans on it. That's a really good one. What other systems have I worked on? Some homegrown ones made by different 3-letter agencies that I probably can't talk about. I never worked with Exacta, but that one I believe that's a GRC system. Man, there's so many different ones. So yeah. But to answer your question, yes, I have worked with, and that's, in my opinion, the best way to work with a system security plan, since there's so much data and it's so deep. It's so many things you have to do with it. In my opinion, it's not Word documents. Those are, the file gets super big to where sometimes you can't send it. It gets so huge that you got to break it into parts. Not so, yeah, doc is not good. And that's the same thing with Excel. Excel is even more limiting. I mean, it allows you to search and things like that, and it seems cool, but it's really not. And because, especially if you're uploading artifacts like screenshots or scans and stuff like that, and it can't handle that stuff. The best way, in my opinion, has been relational databases with a storage back end that allows you to do everything you need to do and upload files and all that kind of stuff. So yes, I have worked with GRC systems and built system security plans on them. And in my opinion, those are the best ones to use, the ones with a database with a huge storage back end. Okay, let me see here. I am going to look at another question here. Can you look at my resume? Finished some months ago looking for a job. Okay, Becca, if you happen to see this video, please email me directly, and I can help you out. And the best way for me to do this is if I can do it live. And what I do with those is I'll change your personal information, and then I will do it live. That's the best way for me to do it. The last system security plan I did was 1,200 pages. Yeah. I mean, it's like a phone book after a while, and it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense anymore to put it in a Word doc, because nobody in their right mind is going to read that entire thing. I mean, you see, the thing, after a while, it's a database, essentially, right? You're putting a database on a doc, and it just doesn't make sense. You use a system security plan to search for a specific thing. Like, you're searching for a specific thing. I mean, yeah, there's the description of the system, and there's the mapping or whatever of the system. It lists all the security controls. But when you're talking about uploading actual artifacts, like lists of hardware or lists of software, I mean, that's where it just gets crazy, and you're relying on scores of people throughout the organization to give you more and more information. And 1,200 is light. I mean, there's some that I've worked on that had, essentially, the main part of it had 1,200 pages. But we had to break it into different books because the hardware list and the software list are so big that those two things take up so much space, and so it really needs to just be a database. Government projects just want their pages for the ATO, for the authority to operate. Yeah, so true. So that's why they get so big, because they want evidence. You basically you're taking a picture of the posture of the system security's posture. What is the security posture of this? And what that means in layman's terms is, what is the status? How secure is your system right now? Right? That's what the documentation is meant to do. It's supposed to take a picture, a very detailed picture of what the status of the security is right now. Right? It changes over time. Like, it's constantly actually changing. So that document, the reason why I say a 1,200 page document or more of a system security plan is ridiculous, because it's constantly changing. Like, this week you have this version of Windows, and then next week you have another version. Guess what? Your security package has to change. Technically, it has to change. Like, if you have different software operating system on there, you have to go through it, and you got to change those little things. And so all those copies you made and all those trees you burned down to get these, to print out this phone book worth of of paper to give. Now that all has to change. So yeah, it's better on a database. That's just my humble opinion about it. Haven't done this for a while. Let me see here. I'll ask a couple more questions, and I have to get out of here. I actually want to do a really long session today, but I actually have to go somewhere. One Love USMC says, hey, Bruce, I have a top secret clearance, and I have passed the Security Plus, along with taking a risk management class. And now I'm looking to be a security control assessor. So for this, USMC, I'm assuming you're in the military, in the Marine Corps. If you have a clearance and you've done some of this work before, I would highly recommend that you change your resume to reflect your risk management framework experience and any kind of security control implementation that you've done. And if you've ever assisted in risk management, if you've ever assisted with security control assessing, you should put that on your resume. And what I mean by that, and a lot of people who are in cybersecurity or in IT don't believe that they have done any risk management framework or any kind of security compliance or any kind of security control assessing before, but actually you have. If you've done help desk, if you were the network engineer guy, if you were done firewalls, if you've touched any of these systems, especially in a large to medium environment, more than likely you have some sort of risk management experience. Now, security compliance experience, because there's many different security compliance frameworks. If you work in the federal government, which I'm assuming you have, because if you have a TS clearance and you USMC, I'm assuming you're a vet, you're in the military active duty or whatever. I'm assuming you have federal experience, which means you have some risk management framework experience. And let me explain what I mean by that. So if you have ever written a procedure for your organization or some kind of a wiki page, like a work instruction page, if you've ever assisted with a policy, if you've ever written anything about the security posture of a system, the security status of a system, and that also includes if you've ever done any kind of scans, those can be worded to show how you have assisted the risk management framework process, the risk management framework package. Because you don't know that you're helping, but you are. If you're working on the help desk and you had to do a procedure, let me just explain what I mean by that. If you've had to write a procedure, a work instruction on how to, say, upload the GPO files on a system, because all the other people on the help desk need to know that information, and you helped write it, or you wrote it yourself, or whatever. So how that helps risk management framework and security compliance is that me as an ISO, as an information system security officer, I actually need that document, because that document is part of our package. We might reference it. We might not upload it into our package, but we might just reference it and say, so one of the ways that we do, say, access control, AC2, for example, which is access management, I believe, is that we control it via a GPO. And we have a procedure XYZ, that was probably written by yourself. It explains how we control access to these endpoint devices. And so you would want to put that in your resume. Like if you've ever written any kind of documentation for a work instruction, all those things are part of our system security plan and are part of our total posture of our environment. So you can actually say, it depends on how you word it, that you've written a document that has assisted in the risk management documentation. So that might be a bit of a stretch, but here I can give you a couple another example. Security control assessor. How could you say that you have assisted with security control assessments. Well, if you've ever done a scan using NIST or whatever the flavor of the day scanner is in your environment, you can say, hey, that you have helped to assess the vulnerabilities on the network, because that's exactly what you're doing when you're running a scan. One of the tools, the main tools that security control assessors use is a scanner. That's one of the things that they use. And by the way, security control assessors don't just scan. They also have to look at documentation. So if you've ever been asked to look at a policy to make sure that it's correct, like technically correct. If you've ever had to look at a procedure and see that it was technically correct, that is an assessment. You're assessing whether or not this documentation that addresses a specific security feature on a system is accurate. And you are doing a self-assessment. You are assisting with a self-assessment within the organization. Sounds like a stretch, but I'm just telling you, the tools of the trade for a security control assessor are scanners. Another thing that they do is they look at documentation, and they also conduct interviews. So if you're on the help desk, at what point would you have to conduct an interview? Let me see. When would you have to conduct? Just help me out here. When have you ever had to? What do you have to talk to people when you're on the help desk? You have to sit down and ask them specific questions about, say, security features. You might have to sit down with a customer at the help desk if they bring a thumb drive or something. Like, have they ever brought a thumb drive to work or something like that? Or if have they read the latest procedure on locking down their system or something like that? You might want to put in there that you have had to interview certain people on the help desk because you specifically BitLocker was an issue, and so you had to go to every single person on the floor and say, listen, I need to know about what's going on with your BitLocker. Have you done this procedure that you're supposed to do? Okay, cool. All right. Have you turned your system off? You need to turn it off before you leave because it has to reboot in order to update. Right? You are interviewing this person with security questions. You can put something like that on your resume. And here's why. Okay, and it sounds crazy, but here's why. When you're a security control assessor, you have to be able to interview people. That's one of the things that they do to see whether an organization is meeting the security compliance. Right? So one of the things they do is scan. Everybody thinks, oh, security control assessor, they just scan. No, they don't. They scan. Yes, that's one of the things they use. That they do. They do use those tools like Nessus or whatever. So you definitely put that on your resume. But they also interview people. They'll go to an organization. One of the biggest things they do actually is interview people. They go around. They ask questions about the security of the system. So you want to put those kinds of skills. Like, yeah, I talk to clients. And I have to talk to clients about the security features of this system to make sure that we are in compliance with our organization's policy. Boom! You could use those exact words on your resume. They want to know that if you have those skills, that's a real good thing to know. Another thing that you can talk about is you implementing security features. If you have worked on the help desk, you have definitely implemented security features. You have for sure implemented security features. If you've ever put in username, password, if you've ever put in multi-factor authentication, if you've ever installed multi-factor authentication, if you've ever updated virus signatures, if you've updated a system, hotfixes, patches, version releases, if you've ever done any of that, all that stuff should be on your resume. Implementation of security controls is very important because essentially if you're a security assessor, especially if you're a technical security assessor, and you've never implemented security controls, how in the world are you going to know what to even look for? So you want to put those things on your resume. So what I'm saying to you, if you happen to be watching this video ever, is that you want to take your current resume I'm assuming you're in federal government because you say USMC and you have a top secret clearance. Take your current experience and explain that you have helped write procedures before. I know it sounds like who cares? Like, yeah, I wrote a procedure a year ago. Like in your mind, it's like a small thing, but risk management framework, that's you actually helped without knowing it. You have helped the risk management framework process by creating that document, because we need those documents to say, hey, see what we've got here. We've got these procedures. We've got these policies. We've got this. We've got that. Sometimes we reference those in our actual system security plan. So I hope that you will take that as a word of advice, something that I wish somebody would have told me many years ago. And there you go. Let me see. I'm going to move on to the next thing here. I think that is about it. I got to actually get going here. I got a party to go to. Okay, I'll read a couple more of these. I read a system security plan. Wait, let me back up here. Back. Okay. Sauce Nino says, what would you suggest for a small organization who probably can't afford to rely on a high-end database to develop their SSP? Yeah, that's a great question, Sauce. Like, I would say if you're a small organization, like if you only have, say, 20 systems, and you have like basically one program management system, like you only have one package to do, and it has 20 systems on it. Yeah, that's probably just a document. That's probably just a .doc that you can download from my site or somewhere else, and then just modify that Word doc, and then you're good. So what I was referring to when I say, it's not a good idea to do, I'm talking about 1,000-page documents, and those are normally because the organization has so many computers and so many controls you have to meet, right? And there's servers, and these servers have a server-client relationship with these end devices, and you've got another server that manages all the access control. Like all of those are one system, and 100 different people have access to all these systems, and just that's why it gets really long. If you have a small organization and you have like one computer, I've actually done system security plans for one computer. We're not going to set up a database with a back end for one system, and that needs a system security plan. We're not, no. So yeah, to answer your question, for that, you could just use a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, then that would be fine. And then you could just supplement it with any kind of like, oh, here's the scan, attach it to the document. Yeah, that's fine. Zip it all up and boom, you have a package. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend. I've done them for 2-3 system. Like this is a very important system, but it's a standalone device, and it's got 5 systems on it. Yeah, that's a .doc or an Excel spreadsheet right there. And that might be 30 pages long. If it's 50 pages, you've stuffed a lot of extra stuff in there. So yeah, you totally could do that for a small system. I read a system security plan of 1,000 pages for a company. I read a system security plan of 1,000 pages for a company. The company said I was the first one to fully read it. I'm OCD. I put page numbers for my questions. That's good, man. That's really good. Actually, as a system security person, the only people insane enough to actually go through these is us, because we have to. We have to go through them. That's our job is to go through them. But what I meant from only a crazy person will read it is that a system security plan is it's a document that's not just for cybersecurity people. It's supposed to be for the whole organization, right? So your execs, your C-level people have to, at some point, they have to touch this document, even to approve it. You've got privacy people who might have to look at it. You've got assessors who might. Each one of those people only wants a small piece of this thing. Like the C-level execs and the managers, those guys, they only want to see like all the main stuff with it. Like, okay, well, what's the overall risk, right? Or what's my residual risk? Well, what's my let me see the plan of action and milestone. That's giving us problems. They only want to see that one part that's causing grief, right? If they've got the go ahead from the team, they're probably going to just rubber stamp it, sign off, and then they're done. Read the executive summary, boom, go off to the next topic, And then who else reads it? Your technical people, they're not reading it. I can tell you that for sure. Like if they're the firewall guy, they ain't reading probably no part of that thing. It's us who has to read it because we have to go through each one of the system security controls, and we have to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So we have to write it, and we have to, of course, read it. So, and unfortunately, a lot of times we're the only ones who actually read all the way through it. And assessors aren't even going to read it. They're just looking for mistakes, which are easy to find. Let me see. Professor Blackoffs confirmed, yes, we did a spreadsheet and grind it out. Yeah, it sucks. It's for a small company. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly. He says, Sauce Nino says, currently assisting a company with being NIST 171 compliant. Everything is in Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. Yeah, if it's a small company, I can see that. That must be for what's 171? Is that continuous monitoring? Or am I wrong? What is that? Time for me to learn something new. 171 compliance. Oh, okay. Holy crap. Just got a little curious on that one. Okay. All right, so guys, I got to get out of here. Thanks a lot. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. It's good to talk to other professionals about this kind of stuff. I mean, it's not really a lot of people talking about it, so just us. All right, guys, I'm going to let this go. I got to bounce. Got a place to be, but hopefully I can do this next week. And, oh, by the way, 171 deals with securing CUI. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that information. Learn something new every day.